In the heart of the San Giovanni Battista Cathedral, the air crackles with electric tension as the congregation bears witness to the miraculous, a Eucharist bleeding before their eyes, intertwined with the luminous Holy Shroud of Turin. Fear, faith, and hope hang in the balance as young Carlo Acutis, battling leukemia, feels an inexplicable surge of purpose and divine assurance wash over him. What will he discover about the intertwining of suffering and grace that could change the lives of many? But to understand how this moment ignited a journey of faith, we need to go back to the beginning. You won't believe what happened next, but before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. In the hushed atmosphere of the Cathedral of San Giovanni Battista, the flickering candles cast soft shadows on the ancient stone walls. The congregation bowed their heads in reverence. A palpable energy filled the air. The priest raised the Eucharist, and in that instant a divine encounter was about to unfold. A flicker of light surged through the nave, not from the sun, but from something far more celestial. As the host glimmered, it began to bleed, a miracle that astounded all who witnessed. Simultaneously, the Holy Shroud of Turin, marked by the suffering of Christ, seemed to emanate a glow, intertwining the two sacred relics in a mystical embrace. Gasps echoed through the cathedral, reverberating with awe and wonder. The faithful, frozen in time, could hardly comprehend the moment they were partaking in. Among them was Carlo Acutis, a 15-year-old boy whose heart and mind had been captivated by the mysteries of faith and science. He watched with wide eyes, his breath catching as he felt the weight of the miraculous moment envelop him. The insistent pull of Christ's passion mirrored the struggles he faced within himself, his own battle against leukemia, a relentless foe that was slowly robbing him of strength. Yet, in this monumental moment, he felt an unexplainable affirmation of the love and sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Flashback to Carlo's room, the walls adorned with posters of his favorite saints, icons of faith that inspired him. Books were strewn across his desk. Scientific texts clashed with theological tomes. Carlo had always been inquisitive, an investigative spirit drawn to the stories of miraculous events. His fingers brushed the cover of a book detailing the Holy Shroud, as he recalled how he had stumbled upon its intriguing history. It wasn't mere curiosity that drove him. It was a quest for truth that would eventually lead him to this very moment within the cathedral. The interwoven narratives of the Eucharistic miracle and the shroud began to envelop him, much like the aura he sensed deep within the cathedral. Carlo had spent countless evenings researching, often losing track of time as he delved deeper into these sacred relics. His parents, though pained by the toll leukemia was taking on their son, could see that this passion brought warmth to his spirit. Each visit to the hospital was shadowed by severe fatigue, but Carlo sought hope in the mystical threads connecting church teachings and historical documentation. Determination flared within Carlo during a particularly taxing hospital visit. He sat in his bed, the sterile room filled with the hum of machines. Scribbling notes, he often revived memories of his research, the miraculous bleeding Eucharist recounts, and the solemnity of Christ's passion depicted in the shroud. "There is a connection," he often murmured, piecing together fragments of faith and facts. His mind raced around these concepts while his body felt defeated, creating a disconnect that tugged at his heart. In this crucible of suffering, Carlo's faith crystallized, transforming his understanding of the divine. The frantic atmosphere of the cathedral reminded him of the life he had led before his diagnosis, one filled with joy, exploration, and the vibrant thrill of discovery. Now, the shadows of the crowd consumed him as each gaze fell upon the miraculous event unfolding at the altar. Just as the divine light began to dim slightly, Carlo's heart surged with a new purpose. He remembered his mother's tired face, her smile still bright despite the sleepless nights spent at his bedside, and the way his father's hands trembled as they prayed together. Those moments of quiet, earnest prayer infused him with courage. He felt the divine presence envelop him in embrace and strength. As the miracle unfolded before him, the intensity of the atmosphere drew him closer to the altar, where the two sacred symbols harmoniously danced in divine glory. He realized that this moment, far transcending his own trials, was a testament to the unwavering connection between suffering and divine grace, a connection he yearned to document for others to understand. The moment lingered, suspended in time. Carlo felt the pull of the heavenly calling drawing him toward his destiny as an intercessor of faith. He leaned forward, heart pounding, eager to capture what was unfolding before him in his journals and in his heart, intertwining the sacred with his journey through illness. What would he discover from this merging of miracles? What impact would his documentation have on the lives of others who strive to understand such profound mysteries? An insatiable quest for answers ignited within him, just as the congregation began to stir, awash with a sense of hope that was palpably contagious. The threads of faith were powerful, and Carlo knew this was just the beginning of a miraculous journey interlaced with his own. The months following the miraculous event in San Giovanni Battista Cathedral turned into a grueling battle for Carlo, as leukemia tightened its grip on his young body. He often awoke in the sterile hospital room, the flickering fluorescent lights casting a harsh glow on the white walls. The smell of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the fragility of life. Yet, amidst the physical pain and emotional turmoil, Carlo found himself anchored by an unyielding faith that deepened with each passing trial. The sharp beeping of machines punctuated the silence, a dissonance that clashed with his spirit as he lay in bed, staring up at the ceiling. Days turned into nights and nights into days, blurring into a monotonous cycle of treatments that drained him. The chemotherapy sessions left him feeling like a hollow shell, his once vibrant energy reduced to mere whispers of what he used to be, yet his mind remained remarkably alert. Beside him, his parents bore visible exhaustion. The love that radiated from their weary expressions was a balm for his troubled heart. His mother often read to him from the Bible, her voice trembling yet steadfast. The stories ignited a flicker of hope, painting images of other struggles turned into triumphs, weaving their family's suffering into a greater narrative of faith. Carlo listened intently, absorbing these tales, stitching together not just the threads of biblical accounts, but also his own reality into a tapestry of hope. He began to document not only his research on the shroud and the Eucharistic miracle, but also his journey with leukemia. His diaries became filled with reflections, intertwining his experiences with the unwavering mysteries he sought to understand. He wrote about the days when the pain seemed insurmountable, juxtaposed against the moments where he felt an inexplicable peace wash over him, an assurance that he was not alone in his suffering. "I feel every stab of pain," he wrote one evening, "yet I also feel the embrace of God holding me close. There is darkness, but there is also light." Weeks passed as he underwent treatment after treatment. He witnessed his parents wrestle with fear while striving to maintain an atmosphere of normalcy. They carried a facade of strength, often masking their anxiety with smiles that seemed increasingly strained. Though Carlo saw the fatigue etched on their faces, he also sensed their unfaltering devotion, a faith that would not waver even in dire circumstances. On one particularly grueling day, Carlo lay in bed feeling the weight of despair pressing heavily on his chest. It was then that he recalled the day of the miracle. The elegance of the Holy Shroud and the bloodied Eucharist glimmered in his mind, serving as a reminder of the divine connection he had witnessed. He clung to that moment, finding solace in the belief that God had a purpose for him, to not only endure suffering, but to transform it into love and understanding for others. With renewed purpose, Carlo began to reach out to his friends and classmates, even from his hospital bed. He utilized his phone to send messages that radiated his faith. "Let's not forget the beauty of the Eucharist," he texted one evening, "and the hope it carries. Each moment is a chance to discover God's love." His words brought comfort to those who received them, sparking conversations that spread hope like wildfire among their group. As he persevered through the illness, Carlo's fascination with the miraculous and historical intertwining of the Shroud and Eucharist deepened. He spent hours absorbing every morsel of information he could find, drawing connections that fascinated not only him but also his family and friends. One day, a local priest, Padre Francesco Paleotti, visited Carlo. With a gentle smile, he listened to Carlo's insights, his eyes lighting up as the young boy shared his vision of compiling the facts into a documented exploration of faith. "You have a gift, Carlo," Padre Francesco remarked, his tone earnest. "Your reflections may inspire many who are lost or weary in their faith. Imagine being able to connect their struggles with the miraculous." The priest's encouragement validated Carlo's endeavors, injecting a resurgence of vigor into his quest to document the sacred truths that entwined the Shroud, Eucharist, and his battle with illness. Days turned into nights, and Carlo's resolve solidified. He embarked on a crusade for truth, uncovering stories, photographs, and testimonies. Each discovery formed a spark that ignited his spirit, illuminating the path through his pain and giving him voice to articulate the divine messages that others might overlook. Long after the sun dipped beneath the horizon, his fingers flew across the pages of his notebooks. Even in the darkest days, moments of clarity emerged. The chemotherapy, though painful, brought about moments of reflection when he could connect spiritually with the narratives he longed to share. In the quiet aftermath of treatments, he penned thoughts that revealed the beautiful connections between Christ's struggle, his own suffering, and the essence of the Eucharist, the ultimate sacrifice and Redeemer. As spring gently broke through the cold grip of winter, sunlight poured into his hospital room, casting warm beams on his face. He lay back, closing his eyes, imagining the miracle that had sparked his journey. For every tick of the clock, he felt renewed hope coursing through his veins. "I believe there is purpose in every pain, every tear," he whispered to himself, a mantra of resilience forming in his heart. What would emerge from this crucible of faith and suffering? The weight of each unanswered question turned into seeds of hope. Carlo knew he was on the brink of something profound, a deeper understanding of faith, a legacy waiting to be documented, a testament that would reach far beyond his own life. Would revealing these connections transform not just his outlook, but also the lives of others waiting for their miracles? The conclusion to this chapter lingered in the air, thick with anticipation of what was yet to come. The following weeks were transformative for Carlo as he dove deeper into his research, unearthing stories that connected the Shroud of Turin to the Eucharistic miracle. His hospital room became a sanctuary of knowledge, where every book he read felt like a conversation with the saints and scholars of the past. Each discovery fortified his faith and intrigued his soul, allowing him to transcend the confines of the hospital bed, even for brief moments. Carlo often envisioned himself standing before a congregation, sharing his findings, his voice echoing through the cathedral as he intertwining stories. He meticulously noted how the shroud, believed by many to be the burial cloth of Jesus, bore the very image of Christ, the essence of sacrifice etched onto fabric. He linked this to the Eucharist, the representation of Jesus' body through the miracle of transubstantiation, a deep mystery that resonated with the struggles he faced. "Both represent a profound mystery," he wrote, "the pain of the cross and the glory of resurrection, as seen through the eyes of faith." His passion for documenting these sacred truths was mirrored in the echoes of his own suffering. The physical toll of leukemia was persistent, but Carlo began to see his illness as part of a larger tapestry, a means to strengthen his message. During his frequent treatments, he would close his eyes and meditate on the suffering of Christ, feeling an intimate connection develop. "If Christ could endure, so too can I," he reflected. As Carlo pieced together his ideas, he sought out others who might share his curiosity. One afternoon, while resting after chemotherapy, an unexpected visit changed everything. Archbishop Giulio Cesare Bergera walked into his room with a holy radiance. The archbishop had heard of Carlo's burgeoning scholarship and was eager to support the boy's mission. Leaning over Carlo's bed, he asked, "What have you discovered, young man?" Carlo, full of enthusiasm, preserved sharing his findings, flipping through pages of notes and sketches with excitement. They discussed the historical context of the shroud, how its existence was often questioned, yet the faith of millions rested upon its authenticity. Carlo explained how the fibers bore hidden messages of hope, reflecting the suffering of the Passion, a paradox of despair transformed into the ultimate victory over death. The Archbishop listened intently, nodding and smiling, offering words of encouragement. "Your insights are valuable, Carlo," he said. "You are uncovering not just history, but a living testament of faith. This knowledge will guide many through the darkness." Carlo felt his heart swell with gratitude. He had found an ally in his mission. The Archbishop's affirmation opened doors, igniting a spark within him to champion this cause even more fervently. As the days transformed into weeks filled with discovery, Carlo's conversations with the Archbishop evolved into a deep friendship. Each meeting was like a dawn breaking, illuminating aspects of faith Carlo had yet to grasp fully. They together explored the concept of sacrificial love, intertwining the narratives of the Shroud and the Eucharist, how each spoke to the universal truth of redemption and salvation. This bond inspired Carlo to organize a small gathering at the hospital with the Archbishop and some close friends. It would be an opportunity for Carlo to unveil his findings and share his vision. Carlo, fueled by excitement, could scarcely contain himself. The night of the gathering, his room transformed into a makeshift chapel, adorned with candles and the words of the saints that danced across the walls in illuminated letters. As friends, family, and clergy filed into the space, Carlo's heart raced. He shared the fascinating stories surrounding the shroud, like how it had survived fires and been a subject of scientific analysis. He spoke with fervor about the Eucharistic miracle he had witnessed and how they mirrored one another. The shroud revealed the depth of God's love through Christ's suffering, while the Eucharist continued to nourish the soul, reminding the faithful of His presence. His words flowed like a river, intertwining historical facts with profound connections to the life of Christ. Each sentence he articulated was filled with the urgency of a message that needed to be shared. The shroud is more than a relic, it is the very canvas of suffering and love, he conveyed passionately. The Eucharist, too, represents that unending commitment. It is how we participate in Christ's life, death, and resurrection. As Carlo shared his journey and findings, he noticed how the room fell into a deep silence, captivated by his insights. The Archbishop's approving nods instilled confidence, and his friends watched in awe. He felt a rush of purpose swell within him, the type of vigor that comes from believing in something far greater than oneself. He encouraged those present to see beyond the physical, to embrace the poignant history that offered hope, healing, and understanding. Even as Carlo spoke, a lingering tension remained among the attendees, a palpable question hanging in the air. Could they truly embrace these miracles, weave them into their lives, and find strength through their struggles as Carlo had done? Carlo's love for his faith and the exploration of its profound mysteries seemed to ignite something in each listener, removing the veil of doubt. As Carlo concluded, he felt a swell of gratitude for the opportunity to share. "This isn't just about me," he said, his voice steady. "It's about realizing that through our challenges we can discover our purpose. Faith is not a solitary voyage, it's a collective journey that unites us all beyond our individual fears and doubts." He could see the spark in his friend's eyes, the Archbishop's approving smile, and the deep contemplation they each wore like a mantle. Would they too take up the call to explore these connections? Carlo's heart pounded with anticipation. The transformative power of faith was beginning to ripple through the crowd. As the gathering came to a close, the words he shared hung suspended in the air, destined to echo through the lives of those present. The essence of his mission became clearer than ever. Weaving together hope and truth could ignite faith and create pathways for miracles to be witnessed by all. Would this moment open a new chapter, not only in his life but in others? The conclusion of this chapter rested in the hearts and minds of those who bore witness, future bearers of the miracle he sought to unravel in their shared journey of faith. The day of the special Mass finally arrived, a day Carlo had been envisioning since the moment he began to document his findings about the Shroud of Turin and the Eucharistic miracle. The Cathedral of San Giovanni Battista stood majestic against the backdrop of a crisp morning sky, its spires reaching toward heaven as if inviting the divine into their midst. The church buzzed with an energy that sparked life into the air, igniting Carlo's heart with both anticipation and a hint of nervousness. As he entered the cathedral with his parents, Carlo was greeted by a sea of familiar faces. Friends, family, and clergy all gathered to celebrate faith and witness the service dedicated in his honor. The richness of community enveloped him like a warm embrace, comforting and strengthening him amidst the trials he had faced. He sensed the unspoken unity that rooted everyone present. The common journey of faith each person traversed varied yet intertwined. As the Mass began, Carlo's heart swelled with a mixture of gratitude and humility. The priest, celebrating the Eucharist, gathered the congregation in a moment of solemn reflection, inviting every soul present to engage with the divine mystery unfolding before them. Carlo gazed at the altar, the focal point of the service, adorned not just with sacred objects, but with the love and devotion of those who had come to experience the grace of God. With each word uttered during the liturgy, Carlo felt a profound connection to the very essence of faith he had strived to convey through his research. As the priest elevated the Eucharist during the consecration, time seemed to freeze. It felt as if the miracle of the bloodied host was a bridge connecting the past with the present, the Shroud of Turin with every heart gazing in awe. Carlo closed his eyes, allowing the experience to wash over him, feeling the transcendent power of divinity binding the community. After the distribution of the Eucharist, Carlo found himself enveloped in a sacred silence, a quiet that invited deep reflection. In this moment, his thoughts wandered back to the day of the miracle he witnessed, the simultaneous presentation of the bleeding Eucharist and the glowing shroud. How those realities merged before him had become the driving force of his journey, one of suffering, discovery, and ultimately hope. In those silent reflections, he could almost see the pain of Christ transforming into love and redemption. As the Mass moved toward its conclusion, Carlo's gaze flitted across the faces of friends and family. The joy in their eyes mirrored his own, an understanding that they were participants in something far greater than themselves. The Archbishop's voice resonated through the cathedral, echoing a message of hope and healing. May we all recognize the divine in our struggles, the hand of God guiding us even when the path seems steep, he declared, cementing Carlo's resolve to continue sharing the revelations that had bubbled within him. The climax of the service arrived when the Archbishop invited Carlo to join him at the altar. The young boy's heart raced. Here he was, standing where miracles had been born, poised to share his reflections. The community watched as he approached, a sense of collective anticipation filling the air. "Friends," Carlo began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion, "I stand before you not just as a boy who has faced illness, but as someone who has witnessed the transformative power of faith. Through my journey, I have learned that suffering connects us to the divine in ways we may never fully comprehend." He recounted the moment in the cathedral when the congregation had witnessed the miracle, how those elements had interwoven the stories of suffering and grace. The shroud and the Eucharist are symbols of the depth of love and sacrifice, mirrors reflecting Christ's promise to us. Our struggles do not diminish us. They bring us closer to understanding the beauty of redemption, he continued, passion igniting his words. Carlo's reflections poured out like a river, capturing the spirit of the community gathered. He spoke of the importance of acknowledging their collective struggles, how each story was a note in a vast symphony of faith. Together we are united in our trials, our fears, and ultimately in our triumphs. May we carry this understanding forward, sharing our own miracles and nurturing the faith that binds us together. The room was alive with energy as people nodded, their spirits ignited by Carlo's words. The ripples of emotion flowed through the congregation, a tangible manifestation of the divine they had gathered to celebrate. As the Mass concluded and people began to disperse, the conversations that erupted around Carlo confirmed the impact he had made. Discussions lingered about the connections he had illuminated and the shared faith they now felt more deeply than before. In the weeks that followed, the echoes of the Mass reverberated throughout their community. Carlo's words sparked a series of gatherings and prayer meetings. An outpouring of faith that drew more people into the light of shared miracles. His message of unity and collective faith changed the atmosphere of the community, turning pain into purpose. Families began to weave their struggles into conversations about miracles, finding strength in sharing stories of healing, hope, and divine intervention. Carlo reveled in the newfound energy that surrounded him, invigorated by the spirit of togetherness that blossomed from his journey. Every interaction reinforced the notion that miracles were not just solitary experiences. They were part of a greater narrative, layered within each person's life. He witnessed transformations, friends and family exploring their faith with renewed vigor, inspired to document their own stories, to seek connections between love, suffering, and faith. One evening, Carlo gathered with a few close friends at the local park, where they often shared their thoughts under the starry sky. With laughter and light banter, the conversation shifted toward the miracles they had witnessed or hoped for. Each contribution was a thread woven into a tapestry, reflecting the beauty of faith at work in their lives. Quietly, Carlo realized that what he had begun was more than just a collection of stories. It was a blossoming community dedicated to exploring faith deeply, sincerely, and collectively. His journey had unearthed a longing within each of them to cling to the miraculous narratives surrounding their lives. As he looked into the faces of his friends, Carlo felt profound gratitude swell within him. He knew the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but they would face them together, a tapestry of resilience and hope that intertwined their lives and boosted their faith. What miracles awaited them on this shared journey? The very essence of life was suffused with the promise of exploration. Each day revealing new layers of grace and a deeper understanding of what it meant to be part of a divine story. As the warmth of summer settled into Turin, Carlo found himself enveloped in a renewed sense of purpose. The success of Miracles Among Us had not only strengthened the bonds within his community, but also opened doors to wider conversations about faith and the miraculous in everyday life. News of their project had traveled beyond their local congregation, capturing the attention of neighboring communities eager to embrace the message of hope and shared experience. One balmy evening, Carlo sat with his friends in a cozy cafe, buzzing with laughter and the clinking of cups. They reminisced about their journey, the late nights spent writing, the emotional stories shared, and the night of the book launch when everything felt charged with divine possibility. Every moment, they knew, had woven them into a tapestry of faith that mirrored the very narratives they had come to cherish. "So, what's next?" Luca asked, taking a sip of his cappuccino while leaning back in his chair. "You can't stop now. This is just the beginning." His enthusiasm reverberated among the group, igniting a sense of excitement for the future. Carlo's eyes sparkled with anticipation. "I've been thinking about hosting a series of community events, moments where we can gather to explore these miraculous stories more deeply, to share new ones, and perhaps discover how they intertwine with our lives." The table erupted in lively discussion, ideas bouncing around like fireflies in the summer air. They envisioned evenings dedicated to storytelling, where individuals could openly share their experiences, complemented by music, art, and perhaps even guest speakers telling their miraculous tales of faith. "Let's call it Miracles in Motion," suggested Marta, her eyes gleaming with inspiration. "A space where we can gather to learn, share, and grow together." We could even include workshops on documenting our stories. The idea caught fire, and Carlo felt a rush of excitement ripple through him. They began planning sessions, mapping out dates, themes, and potential venues. In their hearts, they hoped that by expanding their mission, they could touch more lives, inspiring others to recognize and celebrate the grace in their journeys as well. Weeks later, they stood outside a beautifully transformed community center, their anticipation palpable as they set up for the inaugural meeting of Miracles in Motion. Bright banners waved in the gentle breeze, while laughter and chatter filled the air. Friends and community members began filtering in, their faces reflecting curiosity and hope. As the evening began, Carlo welcomed everyone with open arms, honoring their presence and the stories that brought them there. "Tonight we celebrate connection," he shared. "Each of us carries a miracle waiting to be unveiled. Our stories matter, and together we can become catalysts for hope and healing in the lives of others." The first speaker was an elderly gentleman named Roberto, someone Carlo had met through the church. With a voice softened by age but filled with passion, he recounted an experience of loss that had shaken his faith. "I lost my wife to a long illness," he began, his hand trembling slightly. "I couldn't understand why God would take her from me. But in my despair, I found God too, in every kind word from strangers, in the gentle hands of those who offered support." Throughout his storytelling, Roberto spoke of the unexpected miracles of kindness he had encountered, which reminded him of the love that surrounded him. Each tear that fell seemed to add depth to the lesson he conveyed, how faith could grow even in the cracks of heartache. His tale resonated deeply with the audience, inviting empathy and reflection. As Roberto finished, applause erupted and warmth enveloped the room. Carlo sensed the shift, a palpable energy that evidenced how connected their hearts had become. One by one, others stepped forward, sharing stories that revealed the intricate web of faith, hope, and miracles. Each narrative built upon the last, intertwining lives and experiences in beautiful harmony. As the evening wore on, Carlo felt a vibrant tapestry taking shape. The workshop segment of Miracles in Motion encouraged attendees to document their experiences, guided by the discussions from earlier in the evening. They shared techniques for capturing stories through writing, photography, and art, emphasizing their shared journey. Tangible excitement filled the air as people exchanged contact information, promising to collaborate and share more stories. In a corner of the room, volunteers organized plans for outreach, eager to invite even more individuals to experience the healing potential that lay in shared narratives. Weeks turned into months, and the gatherings of Miracles in Motion continued to flourish, drawing in new faces and nurturing deeper friendships. People who had struggled with their faith found solace in the company of others and discovered renewed vigor through collective testimonies. Carlo realized that the communal experience transformed their understanding of miracles. They could witness them blooming in the lives of friends and neighbors, turning the mundane into the extraordinary. One evening, during a particularly powerful session, Carla, a woman who had been fighting cancer, took the stage. With a microphone in hand, her voice unwavering yet tinged with vulnerability, she shared how her diagnosis had initially paralyzed her with fear. "I felt as if my life was crumbling, but in those moments of darkness, I found a deeper connection to God through the support of this community. You all showed me what faith truly looks like." Tears cascaded down her cheeks as she recounted the myriad of small miracles she had encountered, loving gestures from friends. Preserve a renewed purpose every time he stood before them, inspiring and empowering those around him. The evening air grew crisper as autumn settled in, and the group planned a special event to celebrate the success of their gatherings. They decided on an outdoor festival, complete with storytelling booths, performances, and communal moments where everyone could share their experiences and reflections. The goal was to invite the larger community to witness the miracles of faith at work, showcasing how they had intertwined their lives and created a blossoming network of hope. On the day of the festival, the park buzzed with energy. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, while laughter and excitement filled the air as families set up stalls and decorated areas for the storytelling circle. Carlo marveled at the scene unfolding before him. It was more than an event. It was a celebration of faith, life, and community woven together. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden light throughout the park, Carlo gathered everyone around. People settled onto picnic blankets and folding chairs, eager to participate in the evening's festivities. Today, we celebrate all the miracles, big and small, that have come from this community, he said, his voice filled with warmth. Sharing our stories not only brings us closer together, but it reminds us all of the divine threads woven through our daily lives. The storytelling circle commenced, and Carlo felt his heart swell as he listened to those he had come to know so intimately share their tales. There was Sophia, a shy teenager, who revealed how she had found the courage to approach her struggles with bullying and emerge stronger through the love and support of her peers. Sometimes, she shared, her voice quavering but growing stronger, the miracles are in the friends who hold us up and remind us we're never alone. The crowd responded with applause. But Carlo saw the spark of recognition in the faces around him, the shared understanding that connection had the power to heal. As each speaker took the microphone, they painted a mosaic of experiences, showcasing the myriad paths that led them to discover their faith. Then it was Elena's turn again. She stepped forward, her presence radiant with confidence. "I want to share something special today," she began, her voice steady. "My journey with illness taught me to focus on gratitude. Through my darkest moments, I realized that miracles were not just about grand gestures, but rather the tiny sparks of joy scattered across each day." With a warm smile, she invited the audience to reflect on their own encounters with gratitude. As Elena spoke, the audience shifted their focus inward, engaging deeply with their own experiences. The magic of the festival transcended the surface of mere entertainment. Attendees began to discuss their moments of grace among themselves, prompted by her words. In a pivotal moment, a young boy named Marco, animated by the thrill of the festival, stood up and shared a small miracle of his own. "I found a lost puppy last week," he exclaimed, his eyes wide. "It felt like such a big deal to me because I thought no one would care. But I found its owner, and it made us both so happy." His innocence and sincerity elicited a wave of laughter and applause, reinforcing the idea that miracles come in all shapes and sizes. As the sun began to set, casting a warm orange hue across the park, Carlo took a moment to pause and reflect on the energy surrounding him. The spirit of unity soared high, echoing the belief that God's presence was continuously in their midst, beckoning them to embrace their intertwined journeys of faith. The night culminated with a heartfelt prayer, where everyone joined hands, creating a human chain of connection. As they closed their eyes, Carlo felt the overwhelming love and unity wash over them, enveloping their spirits in warmth. "Let us remember," he urged, "that miracles are not just stories told in gatherings like this. They live in the hearts of each of us, waiting to be unveiled as we continue to support one another through our struggles." After the festival, Carlo found himself surrounded by friends who had participated in the event. They were buzzed with excitement, exchanging ideas about future gatherings and ways to reach more members of the community. The energy of the festival lingered in the air, lighting flames of inspiration for the adventures that lay ahead. As autumn continued to embrace the community, Carlo understood that the journey they embarked on was forever evolving. Their collective stories enriched one another, and he felt a sense of assurance that miracles awaited at every turn. There was a beauty in their shared vulnerability and triumphs that would deepen their roots in faith, fostering resilience as they navigated life's challenges together. Standing beneath the blanket of stars that night, Carlo felt invigorated by the bonds forged within their community. What next miracles lay ahead? He marveled at the possibilities, knowing that they were merely beginning to uncover the sacred narratives unfolding in their lives. Together, they had created a safe haven for stories yet to be lived,
paving the way for countless moments of hope and divine connection in the days to come. A truly deserved lesson. If you agree, please like this video and subscribe for more stories. And tell us what you thought in the comments.